The Buddha has realized three main aspects of nature, and in every item of the nature. The most basic aspect he realized is the universal dynamism. It is not a thing but an activity. Scientists refer to this universal activity or universal dynamism as universal energy. Energy is not a thing, but an ever-changing activity. An activity in an ever-changing flux or flow. And that energy is found in small items called atoms, according to modern science. And even these atoms, made of universal energy, contain subatomical particles. Every unit of energy is referred to by the Buddha as a rupa kalapa. Although in the modern sense, rupa is described as form or picture, the field of energy, even the tiniest field of energy, has no stable form or picture of its own, because it is ever-changing. Therefore, Buddha realized that the basic reality or the basic aspect of the universe and every item in it is universal dynamism, manifested by the universal energy, which is not a thing but an impersonal activity, automatic activity. Buddha referred to this dynamism as Aniccata in his language. State of being dynamic. The result of this dynamism is every item, whether animate or inanimate, whether big or small, they are always subject to constant transformation, changing. Therefore, universal dynamism means universal energy, and the changing, the transformation means the transformation of universal energy. The dynamism is referred to by the Buddha, as I mentioned earlier, Aniccata, and the transformation of this universal energy itself and all its manifestation is called Dukkhata. Dukkhata, or the transformation of universal energy, is the basis of all the Buddha's teachings. Because everything and being in this universe is subject to constant transformation. The result is nothing and no being can retain a permanent identity. There is no permanent self or identity in anything or in any being. Buddha referred to this as Anattata. Therefore, the triple nature of the Buddha is referred to as Tilakkhana in his language, meaning three aspects of the nature, and these three main aspects, as I referred to earlier, are Aniccata, Dukkhata and Anattata. Anittata is the universal dynamism. That is the manifestation of the dynamic universal energy, which is always in a constant transformation. And that transformation or changing is referred to by the Buddha as the second aspect of the universal nature, and he referred to it as Dukkhata. Although it is the second aspect in the triple activity of the nature or the triple nature of the nature, it is a basic aspect, transformation. And dynamism or universal dynamism is the cause of that transformation. And Anattata I referred to earlier is the result of this transformation or Dukkhata. Therefore, Dukkhata, Aniccata is the cause of Dukkhata, and Anattata is the result of Dukkhata. That means when something is constantly changing, nothing and no being can retain a permanent identity. Once this reality of the nature and in every item in it is realized by an enlightened mind, it gets rid of the normal attachment, resentment and ignorance, called raga, dosa, moha in Buddha's language. Raga means attachment, dosa means resentment, moha means ignorance of the reality. In fact, it is the ignorance of this reality that leads to our attachment to present things and beings, and our resentment to unpleasant things and beings. Not things and beings are pleasant or unpleasant, but it is our attitude to it that make a thing or being pleasant or unpleasant. That attitude is the attitude of the self in us. It is that attitude that we experience as I like it or I dislike it. And the primary cause is realized by oneself as I don't know, ignorance of what is behind this. Enlightenment is the realization of this universal nature and especially its three aspects called Dukkhata, Anattata, and ignorance of the reality that we are suffering from. With the enlightenment, these three aspects get extinct. It is really the extinction of these real three aspects that we will call Nibbana. That is why in the Nibbana Sutta, with the defined Nibbana, the ultimate truth or bliss of truth or reality, as ragakkoyo, dosakkoyo, mohakkoyo, idang muchyate Nibbana. The ultimate bliss of Nibbana is the extinction of raga, the attachment called raga, the resentment called dosa, and the ignorance of reality called moha. And that is the basis of enlightenment. And this enlightenment we can experience in our day-to-day life if we are attentive and observant. If we are continually aware of things and beings, both inside as outside us, we realize they are ever-changing, and nothing and no being can retain a permanent identity. Then once one realizes, there is no point in getting attached to a thing that is changing, and in resenting a thing that is constantly changing. Once the realization of the truth of the universe, which I refer to as Tilakkhana in Buddha's language, the triple nature of the nature, once that is realized, we get enlightened. Enlightenment means the disappearance of the darkness of ignorance. That means ignorance disappears and wisdom appears, gets dawn. It's the dawning of wisdom that is called enlightenment. Buddha referred to it as Haloka Udapadi, appearance of light. Metaphorically, the disappearance of darkness. Metaphorically, the disappearance of the ignorance of the real nature of the nature. That the Buddha referred to as Aniccata, Dukkhata, Anattata. That can be translated into modern English as universal dynamism, universal transformation, and non-retainability of a permanent identity, permanent thing or being in any item, not even in the entire universe. The universe is dynamic, in a state of transformation, without a permanent identity. Therefore, Buddha realized there is no ultimate or almighty God managing the universe and every item in it, or every activity in it. That activity he called universal dynamism, or Aniccata, the basic activity, is an automatic activity. Without a creator, without a destroyer, but in a state of ever-changing flux. That means a changing is born and the changing disappears. It appears and it disappears. That means the universe as well as every item in it is dynamic. Once this basic nature is understood, we understand the result of it, referred to as Dukkhata, the transformation of energy, and the ultimate result, the non-retainability of a permanent identity. They are the basic three aspects, realization of which leads to our enlightenment one day. But that enlightenment can be achieved by a constant scientific attitude to life, the universe, every item of it and every act of it, activity of it. That is a scientific observation of things and beings and activities, investigation into those activities, and the final conclusion that one's wisdom can reach regarding the basic reality of the universe and every item in it. And that realization is the enlightenment, by which one can become an arahant, a Pacceka Buddha or enlightened Buddha, Samma Sambuddha, perfect Buddha. That is the result of enlightenment, that we ourselves can achieve by a scientific attitude of observation, investigations, and coming to the right conclusion with our own insight of wisdom.